name is Lindiwe Phakathi. I am a woman in the city of Emalahleni. I hear people say a lot of things about me, and that is why you when you go through the history of this country, you'll understand. They say there's a class of 1976. Young people decided, no, it cannot be a business as usual, that we are being restricted and we are being forced to do things that we are not comfortable about. That's when the class of 76 arose, so that young people said, we will refuse to be taught in a language that we don't want. We don't want Afrikaans. And that was it. So they revolted, got into the streets. So we are part of the class of 1983, because I think I was about 17, 18, when we also now decided, after 76, people got arrested, people died, people went missing. Right now, the system is still not wanting to change. So we had to, again, in the 80s, in the 80s, there had to be another a group of young people who saying, we are going to revolt until we are being heard. So I was not part of the people who just said and say the status quo is okay, So I found myself as well in that space.
You were part of the group?
Gakulu, I refused at school, Uguti, we are going to say it's okay. So we took off from what the youth of 76
you carried the baton.
Yes, we carried the baton, and we came with our own strategies. We came with our own way of how we were going to dismantle this thing, this big monster that has crippled our great-grandparents and our grandparents, our mothers. So it couldn't go on with us. So we made sure I participated because I felt it was wrong. It was not correct that we will succumb to the standards in which apartheid was giving to black people. Anyone, young or old, living and not knowing who they are and where they come from, that's a problem. And that's why I don't blame you, because it means it's our problem that we have not empowered you, or we are not doing it even now, for you to understand who are we as black people, where do we come from, what are the things that we've gone through. As I speak, I'm remembering the story of the children of Israel, when they were going through into the promised land.
Hello everyone, my name is Bulugeng and this is Motivation Corner SA, your favorite podcast, and I'm your favorite content creator, and you're at the right place. If you're here for the first time, please subscribe, comment, like, and share this conversation that we're going to have today, because it's very, very impactful. It's going to change your life. And if you've been here since the beginning, or you've been here since last week, or whatever time you've been here, you are welcome back. And if you haven't subscribed, now is the right time to do that. I'm sure by now I think you might have went through the previous videos and you might be happy with you are happy with the work that we've been doing so far. Please. And today, guys, I have a guest, a beautiful guest, this beautiful woman, powerhouse, guys, and I'm just going to allow her to greet you guys and introduce herself to you guys. Welcome, Ma, and thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mpulugeng. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
And I would love to greet your viewers this morning. My name is Lindiwe Phakathi. I am a woman in the city of Emalahleni. I hear people say a lot of things about me, and it's humbling things though. So it's a privilege to be able to come and share this platform and just come and give myself out, depending on what Mpulukeni is gonna be cross-questioning me on.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Number one, we're going to have a conversation, and with this conversation, she's the one who's going to do the more talking, because now I'm just a curious one. And someone once said, I'll say it in Sizulu, but indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili. So we're here to learn from the best, from the old, and the those who've seen it. And she's just not a woman. I always see her statuses. I once had a mini conversation with her, and I could tell that this woman is a lot. And I was introduced to her by Undumi, and I don't remember quite well, but we're talking about parenting and the current youth. And I was like, and also I was explaining to Undumi that my purpose of having this podcast, it's so that, number one, people of Emalahleni can learn from their own, because many times we see people on TV, we see many people like on other social media platforms, and they are far away from us. We are unable to reach them. So I was like, how about I do one for us as people of Emalahleni? People you can be like, oh ma, I know you're in Witbank, where it's like, can I meet you for coffee? And it's easy, unlike someone whom will have to go through so many channels to meet. And also, guys, before I forget, as you can see, we are shooting in this beautiful place, and this is Unit 2 at Bretton Wood, and it's an Airbnb. You can book yourself and your friends. It's a 3-bedroom house where you can book yourself and come enjoy your stay. It's very, very beautiful. We still have me and the behind the scene guy, we have to shoot a video showcasing you every part of this building. But thank you so much for being here. So ma, I just want to take it back. Where did Mam Lindiwe, where were you born? Where was Mam Lindiwe born? Sorry.
Thanks Mpulukeni. I hail from a small town, Hendrina. That's where I was born in 1966, and I think we grew up there, me and my sister, perhaps up to grade standard 1. In standard 1, that's when we...
Which is grade 3.
I don't know. I'm sure it is grade 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, then because my mom was an educator, she's retired now, she was going around places. So in some instances, we had to go with her. If she finds a post in Gandebele, then we are there. If she finds a post in a mine, then we are there. So until after the post she got in Kromdry mine, then after that, obviously, there was an opening in Witbank. So she had to buy a house in Witbank. So we permanently moved into Witbank in 1983.
Oh wow, you've been here since even before I was even born. So you are really a resident of Emalahleni.
Well, some people don't believe so, but I am. Yeah.
You know, you are a permanent resident of Emalahleni.
I literally grew up here.
You've seen everything changes in this city. How was it before? Like, how has it evolved? Yeah.
Yeah, look, we come a long way. In the beginning, in a Lokshin, original Lokshin, you'd have Akaville, Gakuka, and Lindiwe. That's before all the extensions on top came into place, right? Mm-hmm. So we and you will have town, obviously. All these areas you see now are new areas. All of them, they are new areas. Otherwise, you had just town and Abu Ben Flair. No. Del Judo, Dievel, you know.
Oh.
Yeah. So all of these areas had to. They grew, you know, extensions. But yeah, Tina, when we grew, it wasn't even a tradition to come to those parts of town because it was an apartheid system. So we went to downtown to do
something and go back.
Yes, you do what you have to do and go back. So it's totally different from the status quo now.
I'm always fascinated by people who were really there during like apartheid time. Like how was it like? Because I can imagine where you are restricted. Like now I can go wherever I want. So you guys were really restricted to certain places, and you had to have a reason as to why you are here.
Our mothers and grandparents had to endure that, and that is why you when you go through the history of this country, you'll understand. They say there's a class of 1976. Young people decided no, it cannot be business as usual, that we are being restricted and we are being forced to do things that we are not comfortable about. That's when the class of 76 arose, so that young people said we will refuse to be taught in a language that we don't want. We don't want Afrikaans. And that was it. So they revolted, got into the streets. So we are part of the class of 1983, because I think I was about 17, 18, when we also now decided, after 76, people got arrested, people died, people went missing. Right now, the system is still not wanting to change. So we had to, again, in the 80s, in the 80s, there had to be another a group of young people who saying, we are going to revolt until we are being heard. So I was not part of the people who just said and say the status quo is okay, So I found myself as well in that space.
You were part of the group?
Gakulu,
Wow.
I was right in the forefront in the city of Emalahleni, in Witbank, in Transvaal at that time. So I refused at school, Uguti, we are going to say it's okay. So we took off from what the youth of 76
you carried the baton.
Yes, we carried the baton, and we came with our own strategies. We came with our own way of how we were going to dismantle this thing, this big monster that has crippled our great-grandparents and our grandparents, our mothers. So it couldn't go on with us. So we made sure I participated because I felt it was wrong. It was not correct that we will succumb to the standards in which apartheid was giving to black people. Yeah.
You remember when I was talking to you on WhatsApp, you were like, I want to know what we're going to talk about. And sometimes it's difficult for me to really say, we're going to talk about this, because I don't want to come to a point where you are prepared to answer. Right. I want like organic conversation. Also, I don't want to have an idea what you're going to say, because for me, it will start to be boring. Then when you're not saying what you have to say, then I start to be awkward. And so I know I had said we're going to talk about parenting. And I think we now touching on that issue of parenting, because at that age, you guys decided that we're not going to do that. And currently, the current generation, our generations, we have let so many things slide. We have let so many slide. Like the government is doing as it please, and it's said that it's the very same black government that is doing so many bad things to us. Yes, we do acknowledge the good that the democracy has brought, but there's a lot of things that we have let slide, and we are accepting by not doing anything. Because if you're not doing anything, then it means you're accepting the status quo. True. So how is that? Is it frustrating to you as that class, those people who used to fight and be like, this is not in our name, not in our presence? How are we for you while talking in terms of parenting? Because it's part of parenting, because it seems like we don't have that spirit, that fighting spirit within us. So what is your take on those differences between your class 1917 6th class and our class now?
Right. I think my position into that conversation is that we can't blame you, right? We came into that space where it starts in the house. I mean, I have a daughter, I've got daughters, and I said, my children will not go through what I went through. So I feel that the conversation must start at home, right? Where you are being empowered, because anyone, young or old, living and not knowing who they are and where they come from, that's a problem. And that's why I don't blame you, because it means it's our problem that we have not empowered you, or we are not doing it even now, for you to understand who are we as Black people, where do we come from, what are the things that we've gone through. As I speak, I'm remembering the story of the children of Israel, when they were going through into the promised land, right, after being in Egypt for 400 years as slaves. And when God was enough to see what they were going through, he sent Moses to come and release them. But the Bible says the old generation that came out of Israel died in the wilderness.
Yeah, I remember.
Right?
Yeah.
They died in the wilderness. So the group of Israelites that would cross over to the promised land, and the reason why they took more years than what God has planned is because they did not know what the old generation that died knew. They did not see the miracles that God has performed. They did not go through all that which those people went through. So I always feel like South Africa, we are like that. That this generation has a tendency of saying, we don't care, we were not there, I'm not interested, and that's where we get lost, because what are you going to know what your why is as you live? You can't just enjoy a liberation state that you do not know how it came. It came through the gunshots, it came through the blood of people, it came through people sacrificing years in prison. It's not only the story of the late Babu Nelson Mandela. There's a lot of them. And if you are not making an effort into understanding that history, other people will tell you the history that is not true. So it is up to us as our generation to have these conversations with the generation now. And I feel that we are scared because this generation has come forth as a generation that's somehow a bit ignorant and arrogant to say we're not there. I mean, as a motivational speaker, I used to be called into going to schools, and so this thing, people want to read your resume so that they know who they are. Then I remember very clear in one high school. These children, as they were reading my resume, and they were like, we were not there. I had to change my topic, I had to change what I came to motivate them as the class of grade 12. And I had to rebuke that spirit to say, you will not, because there are people who went through sweat and blood for you today to sit there and be ignorant and speak. I had to come and do a whole education on that. So I believe that we are also too relaxed now. I particularly know, I'm like, look after my part, right? If I empower those who are around me and they get to know and understand, that's it. But none of us is bold to actually do sessions where we are going out there, getting you guys in halls or whatever, and begin to tell you the true history of where we come from, who we are, and where we come from as Black people, because how do you know where you are going if you don't know where you come from? So it's not this generation fault. It's also not our fault. It's just circumstances that all of us, when we started thinking we are now liberated, everybody felt now we can do things the way we want to do them, the way we see them.
I hear you, and I was listening to one of the podcasts where they were talking to Thibaut Touch, and he was like, the reason we have a picture of Jan van Riebeeck is because white people documented, they told our stories, and we don't even know how things were done in the past before they arrived here. It's because we are not we don't document. And I always get upset, Mina, with people. I'm like, okay, we went away. Can we take pictures? This is memories. This is what is gonna, if we have a family gathering, let's take pictures so that even in the years to come, someone might say, oh, this is my grandma, this is, because it's history. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is I'm hoping in years to come, YouTube would still be here, so that your children one day, or your great-grandchildren, when they Google a name Lindiwe Phakathi, they get to see this conversation. That is why I also, like myself, invite as many people that let's do this thing, let's make videos, let's tell our histories, and so that there is more for everybody to know. So coming on your issue that it's also partly your fault that things are the way they are, but also I want to say, being a politician lately also, it's not inspiring, because as young people, some people were even discouraged to even vote, whereas voting has a lot of history behind it, that it was hard for you guys to even vote years back.
Didn't have the right.
We didn't have a right to vote. So to seeing some people taking it for granted, I think, yes, I want to be part of blaming you guys, because now when a person is in this political part, like whatever position that they are in, they are now starting to be selfish, that they think only for themselves. Like, I think the Ubuntu that is being said that South Africans are for, we are Sinabo Ubuntu only to new people. We welcome them, we're good with that. But to ourselves, I think we're failing. And I would love to know, with your own view, your opinion, what's making politicians to be so selfish to a person is like, as long as Phakathi sonke siso, then right.
Yeah, it goes back to what I'm saying. You see, the space has been infiltrated by people who don't really know the movement. They infiltrated the space and push the agenda that they wanted to push, without going back to saying there's a history behind this thing, and as a young person growing in politics, we used to a lot refer to the old man, or Artambo. I call him the prophet in the ANC, because a lot of the things that are happening, he prophesied on them. If you go back into the literature of the ANC magazines, when he was still in Lusaka, talking into Radio Freedom, you will, if you listen carefully and you read a lot of the material from the ANC, you will understand what he was seeing for the future. Statements like the movement will be infiltrated by people and it will be taken over. People like the late Chrisani, they've seen this thing, that people will think it is about fancy cars and fancy houses and all about themselves. And that's where we are, unfortunately. And it has taken a long period for us to arise and say, but that's not, but how would you do it if there is no background for you to understand? So we've been quiet for 30 years, hoping and hoping that things will change. But we cannot learn from that if we don't understand that the youth of my times and the youth of 76 did not have to wait ever again. They acted. So there's a challenge for the youth now to actually take the position and act, because the more you watch, the more the thing gets embedded, the roots are getting stronger, and it's going to be difficult for you to get rid of the elephant in the room as time goes on. So it's up to the youth today, like you say, this podcast, for those who be interested to listen, they will then pick up and they can look for us. I'm not the only person. We are many. So they can look for us and want to come and sit and have a conversation, and let's do that. I tell you, my granddaughter is only 6 years old. The other day I went to fetch her from school, and I'm asking her, obviously, how was your day? And then I'm asking her, what is your school doing for Nelson Mandela Day? And he's like, what's that, baby? Right? And I realized that I have to start now. Because Abelungu, that's what they do with their children. They infiltrate their brain, their mind from a very young age. So if we want to produce a different generation of people that will be knowing who they are and where they come from, we have to start in the house. We have to start with the grandchildren. We have to start speaking politics with them. We have to start telling them the truth about why they are even in the schools that they are in. That it was not like that 100 years ago. It wasn't, so that they understand that they have to do things differently. I have a daughter who is a daughter of my childhood friend. She calls me Mama as well. She's in the University of Potchefstroom. The first year, she always dropped out. She almost dropped out, and she called me and said, Mama, it's difficult. Tabanga, they refused me a one mark for Ruting Pase. And we drove and went there. I sat down with her. I said to her, this is something you need to understand. Remember, you don't deserve to be here according to them. Right? Now you have to prove yourself double. You have to do things double the time, because you must prove that you deserve to be here. It's because the standard has been set very high, and that conversation expanded to us really telling her where we come from, why the situation is like that.
You had to ignite the fight within her.
Yes, so that as she is there, she gets to understand that giving up is not even an option.
That's what they want.
Yes,
anyway.
They want you to give up, but you cannot. You have to prove that you have to show that you are able, you have the ability, you are capable. No matter how difficult they make the system to be, stay until you crack the thing, because you can. And that's it. She's in her last year now.
Oh, wow.
And she's doing very well. That conversation has assisted her to understand, it's not in my mom's house here where I'm just going to walk honky-dory and things are just going to happen. So I feel that there's really a lot of work that needs to be done. You spoke about how this government is being unfair and not doing things, and if you guys are not saying anything, the status quo will continue, right? So the youth of I don't know, you guys a millennium or what, I'm a 2000, I don't know, but you need to begin to gather together and begin to talk about how you want to be remembered with. My name, I think one of the reasons why my name is known by a lot of people, some I don't even know, because I haven't spent a lot of time like we we live the life yokubaleka, go to hiding and stuff like that. But I am also surprised that every time I walk into the space and I try to introduce myself, people tell me, no, siyakwazi, Lindiwe Phakathi. So, right, when I want to establish, how do you know me? Then they speak. So, that's important, that there's got to be some legacy behind your name.
True.
You've got to be counted amongst people who brought change. You've got force for your name to be in the forefront, so that tomorrow history will record you as somebody who have made. Even if history doesn't record you, but people will always know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not recorded in any history, but people know that I contributed as a young person. I stood up with the others and we fought to say never in our lifetime.
Yeah, I feel the need to can also emphasize on at home. We need to start teaching our kids where they come from. You'll never believe my surprise when I was talking to my 10-year-old. He was in grade 5 during the time of the elections, and he was like, "Mommy, what are you going to vote for?" I'm like, "I'm not sure at the moment because there's a lot going on." I'm like, "Why do you ask? Why are you so interested?" And it's like, "No, you must not vote for EFF." And I'm like, "Why?" He said, "No, the teacher said EFF is violent, is this and that." And then I was like, what a wake-up call.
Right.
And the schools, they are being indoctrinated a certain way. If, as a parent, you're not going to teach your child who they are, where they come from, to be proud of their brown skin and their languages and everything, they will be lost. And that's the other reason I wanted us to talk about parenting. That it's hard for us now. We have to balance between, we have to take them to school. I'm working, I need money, I need to side hustle. We find ourselves not having enough time to spend with our kids and raising them. They are particularly raised by our helpers or aftercares. When you come back, do you have homework? You just overcheck. You don't even have so much of those conversations with them. So how best can you advise us? How can we do it, Ma, to best parent our kids?
Look, I think it's important that I make a disclaimer that I'm not a parenting expert.
Yeah, no.
Everything that I'm going to be saying here is out of observation. And because I'm not a quiet person, I wherever I am, I correct, I influence, I change the situation. And because my daughter will forgive me because I will make examples, because it's going to be difficult for me to piggyback on other people's households. But I know, and I've observed, and I have a lot of young women around me who have got children, and I observe and I give them feedback to say, in the speed on which you're doing things, we're going to have a challenge tomorrow, right? Now, my observation is that because you guys don't understand how to balance, when it comes to your children, there is a serious negligence in terms of focusing on their development and helping them to have a conversation, right? You are lucky and blessed when you still have parents. If you still have a mother in your life, consider yourself very blessed, because if you have a listening ear, you will listen to some of the feedback that your mother will give you. It's not about taking over your place as a mother. But when we started this conversation, you said indlela ibuzo abaphambili. So when we give feedback, take that as serious, because as much as you want to raise your children modernly, you want to do a modern methodology.
Soft parenting.
Yes,
we call it
soft parenting.
Yeah.
Abantwana ben abathethiswa, you put them in the corner. No.
Detention.
No. But in English, spare the rod and save the child or something like that.
Yeah.
Go to iBhayibheli lithi sebenzisa induku.
Yeah.
You understand, correct, because if you are not doing, the reason why we are so resilient is because bestratwa. Mina, my mom and my grandmother bazopaka buya emgruveni of outing bakuhlanganyela, and they will hit you until you make a decision if you continue with that or not. You understand? And we had house chores. I'm observing your children don't do any life skills in the house. Remember, a home is the beginning of training. So if you don't give them the responsibility of washing dishes after you have cooked, now you're a slave, you're doing everything.
Yeah.
And after they've eaten, they throw the dishes in the
Some
sink.
don't even
They
take
rush.
it to the
Yes, some they just leave it on the table or the sofa, and they go back into, because they are children of the technology. They are always on their phone. So I am specifically saying I will always make example with my own household. We are separating the roles. My daughter is a mother to a child. I'm a grandmother. Without us fighting, I use my old ways of molding and shaping my granddaughter so that she understands that life is not only going to end in this house. You are being prepared for the outside world. And they always say, "Mawufuna ubona ukuthi umuntu ubuyaphi, bheka ekhaya."
Yeah.
Yes, because that's where you get first shaped. So I think it's your escape route as the modern mothers, because there's a lot going on. I acknowledge that there's a lot. You are having pressure of wanting to be overachievers. You are having pressure of looking at others. You understand that you have pressure of a career on the other side.
You never like slow down and take everything in.
There's a lot that you are, and this is what I always say to I understand you going through a lot. There are things you're dealing with as a person, your own emotional well-being, your own mental health, your own whatever. So it's even worse when you do not have a mother. There are girls who are growing up. You have to see on your own how you must juggle with this life thing, with these children, with the households, So it's a lot. But where you are not doing well is reaching out. Look for help. Just because you don't have a mother does not mean there are no mothers.
Yeah.
Adopt a mother that will help you to be able to say, even for a break, bring the children here. I'm really not that person.
Yeah.
I'm really
They must not bring them to you.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there must be an arrangement. But if I have to be that support system, you guys need to learn to reach out. Don't think you can juggle with everything on your own, and in the process you're making mistakes. Because remember, the 10-year-old that is not for you. He's not yours. You understand? It's for the world. So how you shape him, how you groom him, how you make him to be the person, it all starts in the house. It's not going to be done by teachers. Coming to that point where if we don't do these things, other people will do it. It's not only about our history, it's about everything else.
Yeah.
The reason why we have drugs issues in our country, the reason why a majority of children going to school, I stay close to a school, I see it all here at the corner. Yeah, and I see it all. I've tried, right, until I felt it's a futile exercise, because I can try to do that, but if it's not done at
And
home,
you are very, very external. You are far.
yes,
far, yeah.
I'm extremely far, but because of the way we were raised, you can't watch children doing stuff and you keep quiet about it. So the last time when I stopped doing that, one child, some group of children here, I was jogging in the morning, and when I was asking, but why are you walking slow when the school is already 20 minutes on? and they told me to mind my own business. And that's when I stopped making any comment about these children that you see with the school uniform on the street, because honestly, what household do those children come from that you will react like that to an adult? And I hear there's a saying going on, Tiwa, all these children misbehaving, abantwana bama 2000, their parents are born in
it's us,
the
80s.
Yeah.
We're born in the 80s.
Yeah, so you guys have a big challenge. You need to.
We do.
You need to make a decision with what kind of a nation you want to groom and bring up.
Because eventually they're going to be the future leaders, and do we have?
It's a question we need to throw into the nation.
When you mentioned that the child told you to mind your own business, I remember in our street, like where I stay, we sort of have a WhatsApp group so that we can, if you have a problem, guys, I need this, I need that, or guys, there's an intruder, what come help. So my neighbor is a policeman, and he also, I think because he's also old, he would see these kids drinking and smoking. One day he got so upset and he beat them. You know who got upset? The parents. They're like, why? Why did you have to beat my child? And I was appalled, because obviously I'm old enough to be your child.
True.
And because of your teachings, my mom used to smack the hell out of me, So even other people, they would tell you, hey bro, wana stuff, like you not
it was
not
normal. Yes.
Do things in the full view of old people.
True.
So really, as the 80s parents, we need to do better. Like 80s parents, me included, let's do better. Let us tell the kids that an old person is an old person. Me, whoever in the streets, those are old people. They need to be respected, and whatever they say, they know better than they do. So yeah. So also I want to say, when I met you at that IVF store, your granddaughter was, like you said, your granddaughter is traumatic. I don't know whether traumatic is the right word, but I could see that the mom wanted to go somewhere and the child was like, not on my watch, I'm here. But she kept on crying. But I loved how you would address her. Your patience. And you're like, I forgot the name. Smahle. Why are you hating yourself? Why are you doing that? And also, I'm like, you, there's a part where you're like, but Nam needs to go out and breathe. So, and you also mentioned that you separated roles. How is it working for you? How do you do it? Because I think she's so close to you. I'm sure she can even say mom, but how do you separate those roles in a practical way?
I think the important thing is to not totally reject the modern parenting thing.
Okay.
Because remember, there are relationships involved here. My relationship with my daughter is critical. It's not going to be ruined by me bringing my old ways in the way my mom did with me. So you try to integrate the two. And you do it in a way that she must also understand why it's got to be done that way. Because for every action, there are consequences, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're not going to have boundaries for the child, there's going to be consequences. If you're not going to instill the right life skills from home, there's going to be consequences. I always say to Sbahle, if I don't train you in the house as a grandmother in a way I know you're going to be resilient, soon you will be in high school at your school. You're going to go camping with other children. Mm-hmm. It's going to be disastrous when you are not going to know that after you have taken off your clothes, you need to take them back into the suitcase, because camping is not your permanent space. You still have got to come back home. You'll miss things, you lose your things. So the way that I do it, we have an agreement with my daughter to say, ngiyekele ngenze my own shaping and you do your own shaping, right? Because umntwana is not only brought up by one person, or even if you and her dad were still together, it's not the two of you. When she comes to my house, things are gonna be done differently. Like my granddaughter knows, when it's just the two of us, she washes the dishes. She takes a step ladder. After I have cooked, she takes a step ladder, get into the sink and wash the dishes, right? This morning, as I speak, she says to me as I was coming out of the bedroom for the first time, she's like, Bibi, we've already brushed our teeth and cleaned the bathroom. So it's because I always tell her that a girl cleans after herself. After you have who must clean your basin? So you brush your teeth, you leave it, no, clean it. So I believe that there's a role as a grandmother that I must do using the old ways, but in a softer way. Because I acknowledge that today's children are not the same as the children of yesterday. But the values of yesterday can be applied in today's situation. If we want to raise resilient children, if we want to raise children who know who they are, where they come from, if we want to raise children who are going to understand that I am not here to be just a number, I am here to impact and influence and create a legacy. If that's what you want to see, because I believe in impartation. I want to impart myself in a way that I must be empty. Miles Monroe, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, he says you must die empty. So what you are doing, you are emptying us. So it's up to people when they come across this YouTube video, whether they want to listen or not, they want to watch it or not, because knowledge is power. So we are in a process of emptying ourselves by making sure that, I've got a circle of young women around me. All of them call me mama. When you call me Sis Lindiwe, but they do, they know that I can rebuke. Yes, I rebuke and say, Asitsona, what you doing now, it's not it. So it's not easy, but it's something that you can always sit together and make your daughter understand that. But lang bona uguti, if we continue this way, there's gonna be a problem tomorrow. And remember, we are not raising her for ourselves. We are raising her for the world.
And we won't be here forever. At some point they need to live.
Nobody
their own
knows
lives.
when we're gonna die. So it's important that you guys raise your children with an understanding. You guys are not what do they call it? Mortal or immortal?
I forgot
something.
Not immortal.
Yes, right. So one day you can wake up dead, and we have stories. People have left their children at young age, segashonile, and you haven't even influenced your child. So every day it's a beautiful opportunity for you to impact your child's life in a way that you would want to see them tomorrow.
Yeah, so you touched a bit on the issue of drugs. Why, like in your own opinion, obviously you not know all, but in your own opinion, why do you think our kids or our sisters' kids are so much into drugs? Why are they using it to escape? Because I think it's a way of escaping emotional traumas or anything that they don't want to face. They would rather go out there. In your own understanding, why do you think we have such a problem? Even though, because I always ask other kids, I'm like, you can see what the drugs are doing to the other person. Really, what will make you want to go and try it? Like, why would you want to do that? Do you think you are special, that you won't be addicted?
Right.
But some people say, you won't understand. It's an emotional thing. So, like, in your own, how do we tackle this issue of drugs?
I think we, in my opinion, when I look at the situation, first of all, we are a broken nation. We are broken, we are wounded, we didn't heal. Whenever there was no atmosphere or a safe space created for us to heal from apartheid, right? And secondly, we have broken families, lot. I'm not sure in terms of percentages, but out of 10 children you talk to, 8 are coming from broken families, right? And broken families, it's meaning that kune chaos nje, children are, okay, let me make an example. When I used to work with young people, especially girls, and when we have a conversation, I would ask about their emotional well-being. Out of 10 girls, 8 will tell me, I hate my mother, right? And I establish why. And the things that they state why, then you can tell Uguti, the mother is not able to deal with their own issues. Then there's this extra person that you must also confront. And not everybody has got the skill and the knowledge of how to go through that. So a chaotic scenario happen, and then an escape route for children most of the time is to say, for attention seeking, I will do something super amazing, right? As my way of dealing with things, because we all have a survival mechanism. So ogunye, it could be a survival mechanism. Ogunye, it could be attention seeking. Ogunye, it could be the way this child is actually trying to draw attention from all of us to say, I need help, you know. So, and unfortunately, the situation of drugs in our country is one of the areas that has been left for a very long time, because society has abdicated their power, right? Once we do not want and allow ourselves to be involved in things, somebody else will occupy that space until that space is rooted, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So I feel and believe that we've left the issue of drugs for a very long time as a nation. I know a number of people have attempted and tried, but I think it's embedded on things that are higher than us and bigger than us. But spiritually, we know that drug issues, it's a demon of drugs. It has come, there was a void, there was this empty space, because where there's emptiness, there's gonna be another spirit
something occupying.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that even issues of dealing with it are very temporary, because we don't go to the root cause. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I think this parenting or raising kids, it needs an intention and forever working on ourselves. You can never sit down and feel like I've got it now. Even our own healing, you have to keep on working on it. And I hope, and that's why I make these videos, that we can learn from those who've been here, your conversations, your knowledge, your intelligence and your opinions, because you've seen, you are older, you can see like this. It's easy to hear from you. Me now, I'm an inquisitive person naturally, so I always ask people. Even I can go anywhere, if I meet an older person, we happen to talk, I'll ask the questions and want to know. Yeah. So before we Nago Irisia, you recently turned 58 years.
Yeah.
There must be a lot of knowledge and intelligence and everything there. Can you tell us, what have you learned? What are the life nuggets that you can give us in the 58 years of your life?
One big thing that I've learned in this age is that I'm not in control. The world is lying when it says to you, you're in charge of your life. You're not. You are absolutely not. A life without God's guidance is an empty life. You're living on an empty life, because God is an all-knowing God. He's omniscient, He's omnipresent, He's omnipotent. Without Him in your life is directionless.
Worthless.
Seriously so. So I I feel in this age, I'm beginning to realize certain things, and because I have cultivated a relationship with the Holy Spirit, I get to hear Him tell me that you're not in control. He will allow a certain thing to happen in your life just for you to realize that, Kamampela, I'm not in control here. So that's one thing I have learned in my journey. And the second thing I have learned is that it's important that you create associations that add value in your life. That you don't have, I call it hoarding people. If you think you've got a gang of friends, that's hoarding people.
Yeah.
Especially if you can't show what value they add in your life. I have learned in my 58 years of life that I don't have to keep people for the sake of keeping people. Yeah, so I love being with Lindiwe, and it's a tradition I have cultivated over time once I turned 50, right? So I can't be bored and want other people's validation for me to exist, So I spend a lot of time on my own, right? I love a quiet space because that's when I hear God. That's when I connect with my maker. That's when I have recently started, I call it what I know for sure, So I think I've already done 2 clips on TikTok that gets shared on Facebook as well, because I'm just sharing the things that I know for sure, and all of it.
Where do you get them?
On TikTok.
It's
yes.
your own videos.
Yes, I do
your
the live
handle,
videos. Yes.
or you do live, or
I don't know. Look, I'm not technologically.
No, it's because we want as many people to get to connect.
I don't know what to call it, but I press that plus thing and I see the video and I just go on. So I was even laughing at myself the other day. I don't know whether this is a live or it's just a video.
Okay.
But then it gives you an option to post at the end.
Oh.
So I have started that, and I want to make it a series of what I know for sure. Because there's so much I know for sure, and all of it is embedded in the scriptures to say, I know that I'm created by God, and then I extend onto that. You can look for it. I think my handle is Lindiwe Phakathi on TikTok and on Facebook, and on Instagram is Patricia _ I think 07 Phakathi.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a number of things that has shaped me, and I learned that peace is something that you allow God to give you. I'm just peaceful. Not that I'm not going through stuff, but I've learned to surrender everything to God, because the core thing is that I'm not in control. When I leave it to Him, I have seen, I have experienced, I have watched God just fight battles for me. And it's amazing that we want to do so much hard work when sometimes we just have to hear when the Bible says, bring all your cares and burdens to me, I'll carry them. Do it literally.
Yeah.
Force yourself to want to do that.
Then be still and know.
And be still and know that He is God. So yeah, the being 58, it's a beautiful space because you are internalizing things. It's no more about external. You don't blame the external things. It's always about what's the lesson? What was my contribution into this? How did I end it here? So all the time, it's a reflection on you. And when you reflect on yourself, you become a better person and you become a powerful person.
Okay.
And thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to come and share. I hope really people will pick up some few lessons and be able to know that Wheat Bank is loaded with a lot of powerful women and men that as your generation can actually reach out to. Don't be faced by these temporary things that you see, these fake things that you see. Look for authentic people and you will find them.
Yeah, guys, I can say more and more. You know, Mam Phakathi, she said she talks, she's a conversationalist. So let me just stop it here.
Yeah.
But I think I'm still gonna call you. There's a lot in you, so I'll still call you that we talk about other things.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming. And for viewers, thank you for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation like I did, guys. Oh, I'm sure I'm going to repeat it over and over again. But from me and Mam Lindiwe,
Yeah.
we say bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Ake ngikhulume na someone before ngilala and just encourage you and remind you ukuthi it's not a mistake that you are still standing, that you are still here. It's because God needs you. You are needed. You are needed to fulfill a particular purpose that no one can. So please don't give in. Don't look at the past. Move forward. Look ahead of where God is taking you. Don't live in regret. Don't live in wonder and saying, what if, what if? Just live and know that God has got good plans for you, plans to prosper you, and plans to give you a good future. So you are needed, Mdase. Don't give up. Okay.